you want. Hey, Steve, how are you? How are you? Whatever you want me to do.
Yeah, it does. Carly just said, I just had to turn it off because it was like, we were gonna pass out.
All right.
So
I
she
get it.
thought.
I get it.
So she thought.
Hey, Governor, how you doing? Good. Glad. How's your family? Well,
Good.
good. It's good.
Kids.
Kids are kids.
Activities.
That's it. Bing, bang, bang. That's what you do. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jim Kane. I'm President and CEO of the 80 Makepeace Company. On behalf of our Board of Directors and Bob Karam, our Chairman, I'd like to welcome all of you here today. I'd like to also state a sincere thanks to the town of Plymouth for its leadership in its zoning and approach to development. That's how we created this additional village for Plymouth. And I'd like to also obviously thank the administration, the governor, lieutenant governor, and the secretary for putting money where their mouths have been relative to relative to the creation of actually affordable housing as opposed to affordable housing that has a hard time being actually affordable. So a sincere thanks to the administration and the legislature for doing that. And locally to the planning board, the Department of Planning, the town manager's office, and others who really leaned forward 20 years ago to create the transfer of development rights bylaw that allowed us to create Redbrook and to put 2,500 acres into conservation. Betty, how are you? Having said that, I'll now introduce Derek Brandisi, the town manager of the town of Plymouth.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, and welcome to Plymouth. So before I begin my remarks, I just want to recognize a number of our local leaders, elected leaders here with us this morning. First and foremost, I want to welcome Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. Thank you for coming here this morning. Senator Fernandez is with us from Plymouth. Rep. Lenatra is with us. Rep. Badger is with us. Senator Brandy's staff is here as well. We have a number of other reps from around the region. Rep. Pluff, Rep. Mendez, Rep. Dubois are here. Councilor Nicastro from Brockton is here as well. And then we have our chairman from the Board of Selectmen here in Plymouth, Dicky Quinto, is with us as well. Planning board member right here from Plymouth, Steve Bulletin. And we have a number of town meeting members who are with us here in Plymouth, and that's really important because everything ends with town meeting action. And so the $4 million that was appropriated for this project, not only began with the select board, but certainly ended with town meeting members. We have members from a community preservation committee. The chairman of our CPC is here with us, Mr. Ed Bradley, so thank you for coming. And then the chairman of our Affordable Housing Trust, Kathy Dunn, is here with us. So again, I just wanted to recognize all the folks that made this project happen. But I want to talk a little bit about the project in and of itself. So when I sat down with Jim Kane and Dan Gorzico to talk about this project, the couple of things that struck me about this project was, one, it really focused on individuals that are 62 and older. And two, it focused on Plymouthians. And so as the town manager, and I can certainly speak for the select board, oftentimes we hear about these affordable housing projects, and they're great, but they're not focused on keeping the people that live in this town. And so we're going to work with the select board and through the local preference process to ensure that this project really does set aside units for those folks that live in town. Oftentimes we hear that, listen, we can't afford to live in this community, the taxes are growing, the other costs are growing, and so this project is going to allow us to keep those folks there. The community of Plymouth is hyper-focused on affordable housing. Last year, CPC passed an appropriation through town meeting for $3 million for a homeless shelter. Then passed an additional $960,000 for 6 affordable housing units on Court Street. Prior to that, they passed a 40-hour Cottage Smart Growth District, which creates 675 units. So again, hyper-focus on affordable housing, and this is just another example of, as Jim said, putting the money where your mouth is. And then I'm happy to announce, for the first time in Plymouth's history, the Select Board entered into a friendly 40B process. Everything up to that point was mostly hostile 40Bs. And so starting to recognize how important affordable housing is in this community, we're starting to see the policies reflect that need. The Select Board, CPC, Town Meeting, Jim, Dan, Grantham Group, thank you, Walter, for your leadership on this, and the Healey-Driscoll administration. We appreciate your leadership on this. We're excited for this project. We're looking forward to coming back and cutting a ribbon on this project, and more importantly, making sure that the residents that live in this community are always taken care of. So I'm going to turn this over to our affordable housing state champion, Governor Maura Healey.
Well, thank you so much, Derek. It's really great to be in Plymouth this morning, and it's great to be here because Plymouth is such a great place, of course, but also this is a really special project, and it represents a lot of what our administration is trying to get done. We recognize that people around the state, around this country, are struggling with high costs of housing, high cost of groceries. And that's why from day one, we've been focused on lowering costs. Projects like this and the smart use of state dollars and tax credits and the ingenuity of local planners and the will of entrepreneurs and developers, is what makes this happen. And it builds stronger communities. It's going to build a stronger state. Now, last week, or a few days ago, they go quickly, meld together. It was last week, I think. We stood before folks and we announced for the first time ever, we have a statewide housing plan. You see, when I became governor, it was estimated that we were short over 200,000 housing units in the state. For whatever reason, for years, for decades, there hadn't been the kind of development, housing production that we needed for our state, which has grown, which is a great thing, right? Massachusetts is a great place to live. So that's why we established the Secretariat of Housing and Livable Communities, and Ed Augustus is secretary, first time ever. It's why we got to work on the Affordable Homes Act, the $5 billion housing bond bill that's going to unlock housing around the state. It's why we've been leaning in on all the tools. MBTA Communities Act, the vast majority of communities have come online in compliance. And it's why we supported through the HTIP program, many of you beneficiaries, we were able to bring online last year alone 4,000 units, right? Just through that project, through that program alone. So it's just to say, we are laser focused on housing. How do we build more housing around the state and housing that makes sense? And this kind of project makes sense. Isn't it wonderful if you live in Plymouth, you've raised your kids in Plymouth, maybe you want to stay near your kids in Plymouth or the grandkids, that there might be an opportunity and a home for you. And I see it because I see the list of grantees. We've got incredible projects like this happening around the state because we as a state, as an administration, have invested those dollars in seeing them go forward. So it's great to be here today at Cranberry Commons, where 62 seniors will soon find new homes. And we're thrilled to be able to announce that through our administration support for projects like this, we're going to see another 1,100 affordable homes brought online all around the state. So thank you. Thank you to the Lieutenant Governor, who's just been a fantastic champion for housing, to Secretary Augustus and his team, including our Undersecretary Kate Racer, members of the legislature. Thank you all for supporting and providing the funding. We all know how important it is to lower housing costs in the state, to build more housing around our state. I want to thank our Commissioner of Health and Human Services, who's worked with the senior population right here in Plymouth, and that's Michelle Brady. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you. And Jim Kane from AD Makepeace. Thank you so much, Jim, for what you do. And Walter Ohanian of the Grantham Group, who we're highlighting here today. You know, as I said, when we took office, we refused to kick the can down the road on housing, and we've gotten after it. And it's hard, it's not easy, but we're working through it step by step. This spring, seniors, you know, you're gonna see for the second time, you're gonna be able to get back double what you did, an additional $1,000, because we doubled the senior circuit breaker for 64,000 seniors. So, you know, we're trying in a number of ways to bring more housing online. Today, this is the first round of funding, okay? So this is round one. It's $158 million that's going out the door to 14 projects that will create over 1,100 affordable homes in Massachusetts. They include the rebuilding of the oldest public housing development in Worcester, saving 2 historic commercial landmarks in Springfield by turning them into affordable housing, a mill building in Lawrence that's going to have a new life as housing, downtown revitalization in New Bedford, new construction of 144 senior housing units in Brockton, and more, Boston, Cambridge, Hamilton, Hyannis, Salem, Wayland, across the state. So this is about smart investments. It's what we need to do as a state, and we get here working together. It takes town planners, it takes town and community support, it takes investment and people taking risks through development. We thank you. And it takes strong leadership from local and state officials willing to work to get this done. I know what's possible, and we can get there. Our plan is 225,000 new homes by 2035. That's a big number, but I know with this team, we can get there. And I'd like to bring up our fabulous Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll.
I was going to say good morning, but it is officially afternoon. So thank you, Governor. Thanks for, I think, the real inspiration we needed today, a snowy day, a beautiful spot, and recognizing we're investing $158 million in housing today. Yeah. That is not happening in every state, and I think it's a real commitment to the fact that our administration is desired. We're just not going to admire the problem when it comes to having the housing we need in this Commonwealth, and you all are examples of that. So I'm really grateful that we're able to bring everybody together today in this beautiful room. A good example of what happens when you fund housing and create common spaces and build neighborhoods, what it feels like. This fire is cranking over here, or it was. And what it means to communities, the folks who will live here, the folks who live near here, and the folks who aspire to live here, like the governor and I do. And I think we really do want to highlight and recognize cities like Plymouth and many of the communities the governor just called off. I mean, they all look different. They're in different parts of the state, but everyone is trying to do their part to embrace the incredible benefits that come with housing in your community. What that actually means for the people who live there, what that means for the competitiveness of our state. You know, this and the new building across the way is going to be a great place for older adults where they can call home, surrounded by the community, as the governor mentioned, where they may have grown up, where they may have worked, the community they help build and help support, and now to be able to stay and enjoy it in a setting that fits your needs. It's a place to call home for the workers we need in our economy. Maybe not here, but some of the other projects that we have happening. It is going to allow us to ensure that the people we rely on every single day in our lives, someone you may have dropped your kid off to, maybe helping care for an older adult, anyone who's pouring coffee or pouring beer for a living, especially in a place like Salem, we need those folks to have homes too. And it doesn't happen unless we invest in it. The folks who are working in your hospital, somebody sitting in your firehouse today. The middle class is really the foundation which strengthens our communities, and we're finding in our communities, many of the ones that used to be affordable, it's not possible to live there anymore. That should frighten all of us, and it certainly has said to us we need to do more as a state and as a community at every level. And like the governor said, we have made housing our #1 priority. whether it's investing in it in dollars, coming up with a housing production plan, a plan that showcases not only how many housing units we need, what those housing options are, what's the type of affordability we need. When we talked about 60% of AMI, that's somebody who might be in the service sector, right? 30% of AMI might be somebody who's working but not making enough resources to keep up with fast rising rents. That's why it's so important that you have a strong state partner in your community to develop the type of housing you need. And we need more market rate housing as well. Like, let's not leave anything off the list if we're talking about having a vibrant Commonwealth. The statewide housing plan showcases the fact that we need 222,000 units. That means we haven't built enough, not just the last decade, not just the decade before that, but the last 3 decades. We haven't been building enough housing, we haven't been building the type of housing we need, and when you factor that in with the fact that people are living longer, hooray, the math doesn't math, right? We need to make sure we're building more units, and more importantly, having more housing is gonna bring costs down. The reason housing is so expensive in Massachusetts is we have high demand and low supply. It's a basic economic principle. So when we invest in housing, we're investing in driving down some of those costs and trying to make it easier for people to afford to live here, to stay here, to power all the amazing things that we do in this Commonwealth. The in-depth study that we looked at through the statewide housing plan, again, first time that's been done in the state's history. We encourage cities and towns to have a housing production plan, understand what you might need. It was the aha moment for many communities, but certainly for my community in Salem. What type of housing do we need? Where do we need it? Who does it need to serve? Now we have that statewide. And what it does is it talks about the needs in every region, because we know every region and community is unique. When we look around Plymouth, the needs in Plymouth are going to look different than maybe the needs in Boston. This has different geography, different neighborhood characteristics, different than Pittsfield. Doesn't look like P-Town, and it doesn't need to. It needs to look like what the options are here, to really embrace the concept that density can be your friend in the right place with the type of housing that you need to support the people who you care about in the place that you live. So we're excited about the plan and the opportunity to work it, plan the work the plan. That's something that we're fortunate to have Ed on the team, and Ed and his team here working on, and then to have the tools to go along with it. The announcements today around the tax credits are going to help fuel the economy we need. That's a big part of the work, our work with the legislature, both on the housing bond bill and the items we're going to continue to work on through unlocking potential, and the commission that's been looking at ways that we can further reduce barriers to build the housing we need. That's the work of us. If we are really going to tackle this housing challenge that we have, the people on this side of the dais can't do it alone. It's not just going to be state government, legislature, administration working on it. We actually need everyone at the communities in our local level also putting their hand up to do more. We need our amazing development sector, both our nonprofit developers, our private sector developers, finding ways to push through and making it easier to get the housing that we need in our communities. And I know, with the people we have in this room and those that aren't, we're more than capable of doing it. So congratulations to all of today's awardees, and let's keep up the great work. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities, Ed Augustus.
Thank you, LG, and I want to thank you and Governor Healey for your leadership on driving down housing costs and creating affordable housing for Massachusetts residents across the state. And before I get into my remarks, I don't know if she made it here yet. We were at a CHAPA forum in Boston earlier, but I want to give a shout out to Undersecretary Kate Racer, who needs no introduction in this room. And her whole team that works so closely with all of you and works so closely with all of us to turn these tax credits and subsidies into units of housing. So a special shout out to that team. Last year, the state was able to create or preserve more than 4,000 affordable units, thanks to LIHTC awards and state subsidies. That's 4,000 homes for people who would otherwise find it difficult, if not impossible, to find housing they could afford here in Massachusetts. Homes for people who keep our economy running, homes for our seniors. The 14 projects being awarded today and represent the creation, preservation of an additional 1,138 affordable units located in 12 cities and towns spreading across the Commonwealth. This administration continues to prioritize increasing our housing supply and making Massachusetts more affordable for everyone. You see it through the implementation of the Affordable Homes Act. Just last week, ADUs as of right, became the law of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The continued implementation of the MBTA Communities Act, and I would just say 118 communities have already passed the zoning necessary to comply with the law, and in the zones that have been created, more than 3,000 units are already in the pipeline. That law is working. And last week, the governor introduced the first 5-year housing plan for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This lays out the facts, the data, the important strategies that we together, on both sides of this lectern, need to follow in order to bring about those 225,000 units that the governor talked about. In this housing space, we need a lot more fact-driven conversation, a little less emotion, a little more light, and a little less heat, so that we make the right decisions based on facts and data, and not just feelings and emotion. And we're doing that, and we're trying to provide our allies on the ground, in town governments, and advocates with that information to help make those cases. These awards today are part of an ongoing effort to combine big ideas with financial investment. When the governor signed the tax relief bill in 2023, she increased the low-income housing tax credit to $60 million annually, from $40 million to $60 million annually. Because of that, we are here today to celebrate these awards. 95% of the units funded in these developments will be affordable to seniors or families earning less than 60% of area median income. And at least 327 units will be deeply affordable and restricted to individuals or families earning less than 30% area median income. So that's the school crossing guard, that's the preschool helper who's able to find housing to provide those important services that every single community needs in order to function. I want to congratulate the 14 awardees. I'm just going to quickly read off the Brian J. Honan Apartments in Alston, Brighton, sponsored by the Alston Brighton Community Development Corporation. The Brook House of Olmsted Village in Boston, sponsored by Two Life. Warren Hall in Boston, sponsored by Shockett Companies and the Alston Brighton Community Development Corporation. Phase 1 of Campobello redevelopment in Brockton, sponsored by the Brockton Housing Authority. Congratulations, you guys had me there at the meeting, tied me up, wouldn't let me leave until we promised we would do this, so we're all happy today. Blanchard 1 and 2 in Cambridge, sponsored by Brene Brith. Amesbury Commons in Hamilton, sponsored by Harbor Light Community Partners. Harbor View in Hyannis, sponsored by Wind Development. Phase 2 of the Mariner Mill Adaptive Reuse in Lawrence, sponsored by Lawrence Community Works and the Community Builders. The New Bedford Scatter Site Project, sponsored by Cruz Development Corporation. Obviously, Cranberry Commons Senior Housing here in Plymouth. El Centro Housing in Salem, sponsored by North Shore Community Development Corporation. Merrick Park Apartments Adaptive Reuse in Springfield, sponsored by First Resource Development. St. Anne's Senior Village in Wayland, sponsored by the Planning Office of Urban Affairs. And one I know a little bit about, Lakeside Apartments in Worcester, sponsored by Tremont Development and Worcester Housing Authority. Congratulations to all the award recipients. We appreciate your hard work. And with that, I want to introduce one of the recipients of the awards today for this Plymouth project, Walter Ohanian.
What an unbelievable day. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Walter Ohanian, and I am the Managing Director of the Grantham Group. I appreciate you allowing me to discuss Cranberry Commons, a 62-unit affordable housing community for seniors. Grantham Group is a Massachusetts-based developer and management agent to a number of affordable housing communities throughout Massachusetts. We have developed and currently manage over 500 units in Mass, all of which were made possible by days like today. The administration announcing awards for direct grants and state and federal tax credits to create homes for very low-income peoples across the Commonwealth. Cranberry Commons will be 100% affordable senior housing development that is income restricted to people at or below 30%, 60%, or 80% of the area median income, and will be located right here at beautiful Red Brook. The apartments will be approximately 690 square feet and will include everything a resident needs to live independently in the unit. It will have a stove, a dishwasher, refrigerator, washer and dryer. And units are going to be designed understanding the residents who will be living in those units. Easy step-in showers, ample-sized doorways, and walk-in closets. The apartments will have large windows, making the units bright and cheerful. Besides having the 62 one-bedroom apartments, we'll also have common areas for the residents to congregate. This will include a living room with a fireplace, multi-purpose room for the residents to use for doing bingo, enjoying a group meal, or coordinating a bingo game. The building will be built to the energy stretch code and will be served by elevators to get from floor to floor. And having these common spaces will help residents facilitate socialization and be part of the town within their own community, Cranberry Commons. The tremendous benefit that this project has is its easy access to right here, nearby Red Brook Village Center. The project's literally right across the street. It's a short, flat walk area to the community gardens, which are behind us, the bakery, the restaurant, the YMCA, physical therapy, and doctor's offices by Beth Israel. Smart growth. So what got us to today? Over the past 18-plus months, we've had a variety of meetings, including 2 community-wide meetings here with Red Brook residents, a variety of public meetings, including CPC, Planning Board, Select Board, and Advisory and Finance. And during these meetings, we listened and made this project better for our future residents. And we wouldn't be here today without Plymouth Town Meeting approval of $4 million of CPA funds, the town's Affordable Housing Trust of $100,000 contribution, and the in-kind contribution made by 80 Makepeace for the land, making the parcel pad ready, and allowing us to tie into existing utilities. Without you as partners, this project doesn't exist, so thank you. All of this made our application competitive to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities and the administration to award the necessary funds to make this project now a reality. It is with heartfelt gratitude to you, Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and Secretary Augustus, that I say thank you, and not just for myself, or Grantham as developer and management agent, or the town of Plymouth and AD Makepeace for their desire to create more affordable housing stock, but thank you from our future residents. And you may wonder who those are. These are your neighbors, possibly people who have lived in Plymouth and the nearby area their entire lives, but can no longer afford to live in Plymouth for a variety of reasons. Possibly people who had to give up their living arrangement long ago and may be living with their children in town. These may be someone's parents they are looking to bring closer to them so they can help with their needs during their golden years. But ultimately, these will be people who just don't have the financial resources to live in a community as beautiful as Plymouth and Red Brook without a reduced rent option. Today, with your announcement, Governor Healey, we are another step closer to a ribbon cutting and moving in our first residents and meeting our new neighbors. Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to introduce you to Michelle Brady. She is the Commissioner of Health and Human Services for the town of Plymouth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I too had good morning in my speech, so we'll switch that. What a friendly audience. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Brady, Commissioner of Health and Human Services for the town of Plymouth, and I'm honored to speak today on behalf of this incredible senior housing project. Our beautiful town is unique for many reasons, particularly because it is both a desirable retirement destination and a community known for longevity in place. 42% of Plymouth is age 55 plus, and that number is expected to increase to close to 50% by 2030. Conversely, 47% of Plymouth's population is age 50 plus, compared to 38% of the state population of the same demographic. The availability and affordability of housing suitable to meet the changing capacity of elders in our community are key factors that influence the ability of these elders to age in place and to lead fulfilling and healthy lives. In response to changes in Plymouth's elder demographics, the town of Plymouth appointed a senior task force charged with identifying the needs of older residents and developing plans for taking action to best address their needs. One of those actions was for Plymouth to become an officially designated age and dementia-friendly community. I am happy to report this designation came to fruition in April of 2024. Part of this process was a comprehensive, in-depth needs assessment conducted by UMass Boston Gerontology Institute. Key findings in this assessment included the lack of affordable senior housing. In an in-depth survey sent to our community, elder resident Mary stated that, quote, "Plymouth is my home and where I feel comfortable living." 60% of survey respondents stated that it was very important to remain living in Plymouth as they age. Many, however, grow increasingly worried about affordable senior housing and the autonomy to age in place in a town they love. Elder resident George said, "At some point, my current residence will become too difficult to live in, as it is not conducive to aging in place. I will have to move, so affordable senior housing will be very important. I spend many nights worrying about this." Senior resident Grace stated that the town needs more affordable senior housing. "I am on a senior housing wait list," she writes, "and the waiting time is 4 to 7 years. Affordable housing for seniors is the most important need." Grace ended her statement with, "Thank you for your concerns for seniors." We are concerned, Grace, and we are proud to support Cranberry Commons, as it is a perfect example of how this community listens to elder needs. Complete with amenities that cater to senior living ease and a community connectiveness feel for optimal senior socialization, Cranberry Commons is a great asset to the town of Plymouth. Thank you to everyone present today who came together to bring this truly affordable senior complex to our incredible community. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to reintroduce Governor Healey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much, Michelle. We're happy to take any questions on topic.
Governor, federal investment, of course, is part of this as well. Are you concerned that those dollars, subsidies, tax breaks, that they aren't going to be there as you move forward with this plan?
Well, how can we not be? I mean, look, the price of eggs has only gone up over the last few weeks, as has the price of everything. And then there was the specter of tariffs, which would be devastating to our economy. We're here talking about building houses. When you think about the supplies, right? The lumber, the gypsum, everything, that's just adding a tax on Americans. And that's not what the president was elected to do. The president that I want in a president is somebody who's going to partner with states around this country to lower costs, to make life more affordable when it comes to the cost of goods, when it comes to the cost of housing. That's what we need. Also very concerning, we saw the freezing of federal funds last week. The Trump administration froze federal funds that were needed and supposed to be coming in the door for seniors through LIHEAP to be able to pay heating bills in Massachusetts around the country, freezing federal funds that are there to operate daycare centers and healthcare centers and support our military and our veterans and it is so much more. And, that's in litigation now, but, I would just really call on the Trump administration to be a partner to Americans, be a partner to the states. We know what it means when we see important investments like we've seen in Massachusetts in roads and bridges, transportation, infrastructure, education. Housing's a part of that. I'll also say this, we are Team Massachusetts, and we've been very focused on a few things. Housing at the top of the list. That's why we did the housing plan. Later on today, Ed's going to be with the team announcing a new report of recommendations to issue and implement around how to unlock now more housing around the state. You know, what are the regulatory changes and environmental considerations that we need to rethink, a whole host of things, okay? The point is, we're, pedal to the metal on housing, and we're going to make the very best use of taxpayer dollar here in Massachusetts to support programs that are going to make a meaningful difference in people's lives. That includes lowering the cost of housing. And so we're going to continue, as the LG says, to work the problem here. Today is a great example of what's possible, and I thank the legislature for the continued support and funding, particularly through the historic Affordable Homes Act that we got done last session. 225,000. All right, well, we just knocked off another 1,200 of that. So we'll watch that thermometer, but we're intent, all right? We're intent every single day to get after it. Thank you so much. And we want to invite all of our wonderful recipients of the grants to come forward and take a picture with us.